Thanks, everybody. As Alex mentioned pretty correctly, I started with BMW last July, and I'm responsible for the topic advanced analytics in the EMEA regions. So we are pretty internationally, and what it means and what challenges we are faced to in driving this new group or ramping this new group up that is pretty new founded. I will just take you to this journey. So at least the screen is not working here. I don't know if it's on purpose. So here we go. So what we're doing is we have basically two strategic targets. The first target is basically we want to develop new data-driven business models, obviously. So our goal is to focus on the needs of our national sales regions, and we want to use their existing knowledge to make, to derive new business processes. And second, and I think this is something that everybody of you is faced to, at least in historically grown companies, we want to make existing processes more efficient. Why? Because only if you have efficient processes, if you have a solid basis, then you can invest into the future with machine learning, with all those buzzwords, blockchain, AI, etc. So this is our two orientations. So what and the team responsible for, we are, as I said, responsible for our EMEA national sales communities or national sales organizations. So where we sell those cars, where we service the cars, we have about more than 5,000 dealers in our responsibility. So we have about more than 300 employees, IT specialists working for this main department. We have 22 countries that we're responsible for, and we create about 50% of our sales. So which is quite a lot, and you can imagine how much data there is produced with each service, which each car that is driving there. And imagine how much data is produced within those national sales companies that basically the headquarters in Munich is not even aware of that such kind of data exist. And what we can do with that and which possibilities we can reach and what we can deliver, I will tell you in the next couple of minutes. So one step back, the boring slide. Everybody is obvious. If you tell the people that we are living in a world of disruption, this is pretty clear. But as I started in July, people didn't really, if you ask them in the national sales companies, what are the typical disruptive elements, they would certainly come up with Uber. They would certainly come up with other mobility providers, or Tesla, obviously. But now you see an interesting, very fast change that people look at Alibaba, they look at Amazon. So they think about new retail concepts, which is basically probably not our core responsibility in our function as IT. But people start looking left and right and see which other possibilities can we leverage. And one thing that was at least interesting for me, I don't know whom of you is driving down Frankfurter Ring a couple of times to the BMW IT center, for instance. There's a big advertisement, a new advertisement for an Audible that states that they want to actually, they don't describe the customer as the king anymore, but as God. So basically, I thought, well, that's a very aggressive advertisement, but it shows the extremely important thing that we should keep in mind, and what data drives basically is customer centricity. So our biggest goal of all of our activities is customer centricity. And beside that, certainly in our markets where we work, we have certain amount of other challenges that are associated with the digital disruption. It is new mobility concepts, obviously. As mentioned, we have new providers coming to the markets, no-brainer. But we have an increasing ecosystem, for instance. So if you go to the CES in Las Vegas, if you go to different conferences, people start talking about integrating, Alexa into cars generally. People talking about different extensions of the car, that it fits better to the customer ecosystem. So in all these things create new tasks for us as IT, but also with tasks comes opportunities. So we have new retail concepts. So people come to me or to our team and ask about things like how to improve the showroom at the dealer, because they see dealers that have just one car in their showroom or something like that, but this car in the showroom is addressing the customer's needs in this particular area the best, right? So what again, it means we need to understand our customers, and we can only understand customers if we understand our data. And obviously we have new marketing concepts. We try to adapt logics of Amazon to improve our retail concepts. And obviously we have new technology trends. So cloud first is probably not only one part of a strategy in BMW. Probably many of you have this cloud first strategies. We have cybersecurity, we have GDPR, we have Brexit. We have so many challenges that is a core issue in our daily business, and still we have to try to each and every day, and this is our intended goal, to make the best opportunities out of that. And just because it is brand new, and I know if you know that, even it's not our responsibility, it's Japan, so it's another organization, obviously. But I have one example how AI is changing the way we act. And there was just a new mayor election on the 15th, so 2 days ago, on the 15th of April, in Tama, which is southwest of Tokyo. It is about a 200,000 or 150,000 citizen big city, and they have a very, very low election turnout. So people just don't go to election. So there was a 44-year-old IT specialist that came up with the idea. I programmed an algorithm and I put an AI bot as a mayor on the list. And that was interesting because, I mean, obviously what happened is they increased the election turnout. So the people started to use their democratic rights again by applying AI, basically, right? So still the old mayor won, but the bot had a 9% share. So again, back to our environment, we also have historical challenges in terms of different processes. We have different time zones, obvious challenges if you work very international with national sales companies, cultures, language barriers, time zones, political affairs, different mindsets, etc. So currently or historically, the focus was on trying to find the best synergies across all those challenges, trying to fit the processes across those nations. But in order to remain competitive and to remain competitive with new upcoming vendors, with new upcoming organizations that are competitors to us, we have to rethink the way of working in those national sales communities. So we have to think about new data-driven business models in order to remain competitive and to enter new areas of competition where we can be a competitor to others. And also to increase the efficiency of our processes, to gain speed, to react very fast, and again, to make the basis for future technologies. So what happens in our environment is that historically the process homogenization is more and more shifting towards a data homogenization. And this is an extremely interesting process that happens, and I want to explain you why. I'm pretty certain that this is the only option to work together with all this background knowledge that we have now, with all the competitors, with all the challenges that we are faced to. Because there's one equal thing across all our nations, and there's a potential in data, right? So there's a massive potential because each and every national sales company, each and every country is producing billions of records of data. And the center in Munich probably does not know 100% of it, which means we have potential. So this is why I think there's one language that is unique around the whole world, which is basically data. And this is exactly where our team keeps growing in order to make the best use out of this. And this is how we try to bring companies or cultures, nations, and employees together. So I think we can only solve these current challenges by combining this existing knowledge, combining data with experts that knows how to understand and how to interpret this data. And the reason for that, why I think data is a unique language around the world, is, at least for the automotive industry, the way the data is produced is the same in each country. And each country has the same problems. We produce telematic data in each country. We have customers that accept the best premium service from us in each and every country. Probably the expectations, the subject expectations may differ, but still we need to offer the best services. Customer interaction centers are established more or less in each country that produce the same kind of information. And think about a car is going to a dealer, how much data is produced during such a stay. And many of those systems are already centralized, but it shows the importance of new technology to squeeze the lemon out and to get all this potential into products for our customers. So, and if you look at least my environment, black and white, and I think the truth is somewhere in the middle, but if you look at it black and white, then we can say in Munich we basically know everything about our cars and our national sales companies, our countries outside that are the bridge to the dealer, to the customer. They know our customers best. And if we talk about data-driven business models on customer centricity, we have to combine those two dots. And how this works, I have two showcases for you, two use cases where we already have applied this thinking and this methodology of working together in a very innovative way and in a very agile way. Probably somebody of you have heard the 100% agile strategy of BMW, and I think this is the only answer and the only possibility to achieve this kind of goal. New working models. And one success story is from Norway. In Norway, Norway is pushing the electromobility enormously. And we have each and every day a customer coming into a dealer in Norway and is asking for a used BMW i3 because it's very supported by the government. Nevertheless, we don't have enough cars available to supply this demand. Because they are either in leasing or in the new car sales, but combining this knowledge from the center and from our national sales colleagues in Norway that have these dealer visits, we can identify those customers that would benefit most of giving their car back from leasing, for instance, a little earlier, because they would save money, they would looking for a new car because they're already driving a BMW i3 and would prefer from a new model which has a bigger range, battery range. And we already know a customer that would looking for such a used car. So we don't even create a stock time in a perfect case scenario. And just by that, we have a success where we can double our customers just by customer centricity, by understanding them and by providing them with the best offer at the correct time where the customer benefits most. And I think this is one interpretation of premium service that BMW is able to offer, as BMW has such a great amount of has probably the biggest connected car fleet with such an amount of historical data that is ready to use. In another use case with our colleagues in South Africa, that is also interesting. We building a customer experience score. So we want to, our goal is that whenever you go to a dealer as a customer, your service advisor is contacting you in a very personalized way. And think about today, what frustrates customers, at least it would frustrate me as a customer if I go to different dealers and I'm always an anonymous person if I go to different dealers. So I want to be an individual person to them with individual needs. So basically what we try to build is a customer experience because we want to collect the different touch points, technical touch points the car had, and we want to combine this that we can understand our customers best to offer them again the best services and see what they probably want, what they don't want, if they had bad experiences, what we should how we should react and what we should offer them. And even if they probably would be interested in, I don't know, certain upselling activities, that only those activities should present it to them that are of interest. And here it's interesting because probably some of you would ask yourself, oh, if you talk about customer experience and customer centricity, you can imagine being responsible for advanced analytics in EMEA. How does it align with GDPR as a new data privacy regulation? That's also can be seen as an opportunity because we need your opt-ins, we need customers' opt-ins to being ready for the future, and we have the chance to contact the customers and ask if they are interested in such services. So this is again how people see even such things as possibilities, and this are different cases where you can see how we can either make existing processes more efficient and how we can derive new business models based on data by combining cultures, by combining knowledge, by combining expertise from different international locations with the headquarter where the central data is stored to deliver the best things for our customer. And all this only works if and Christoph said it before, all this only works if we work together in a very collaborative and an agile way, if we combine business knowledge, if we rethink our culture, if we focus on markets in terms of customer centricity, and if we apply latest technologies, in this case machine learning algorithms, for instance, to really enable the possibilities and the potentials we have. Thank you.
Thanks, Stefan. So it's very interesting because you cover all Europe and then also South Africa. So
Absolutely, yeah.
Have you already visited South Africa?
Yeah, 3 times. Yeah, now it's comparable, but in January it's worth traveling there. Yeah.
Very good. Great. Any questions? Over there?
So basically, the question was if the Norway project is already live. That's an interesting question. So the answer is it's not yet live in the current definition of live. But so what we did is we developed in the end of last year the first minimal viable product to show if there's a potential. So now we had to wait a certain time until we reach the time where we have the official allowance from a data privacy perspective to contact the right customers. But now we pilot this MVP with a certain amount of customers, and the response rate is really great. So what we do is a stepwise growing. So we see if we, from the first pilot that we are allowed to contact, if we see that we can customize or we can offer them a better product and a better leasing product in this case, we also want to learn where we can even improve the thing. So we feed this thing back from a little amount of customers in order to adapt and improve the procedure. And once we think it's on a good stadium, then we would like to scale it. But to add this, our intended goal is not to develop market solutions that only fit to Norway, I think we're successful if this product scales basically worldwide, or at least in our nations.
Right. That's a very interesting point, Stefan. So, I mean, you had also experience at Volkswagen working with different markets. How difficult is that? How different is the data? You said there are patterns in the data that are similar. But how can you learn? Is that experience, or is it always just a lot of work?
I think if you compare, I would say if you compare Volkswagen with BMW, I would say we are faced to the same problems in a nutshell, right? So we are faced to an enormous disruptive change that we are in the middle or just probably at the beginning, and the challenge that we have to adapt at high speed. And that we have to rethink our existing working structures with high speed. Also, the problems are basically the same because you produce warranty data independent of the OEM or dealer data. Certainly, there's differences. I see where we have challenges is that currently data is produced not 100%, or the data that is produced is not centralized to 100%, right? Which means it is not available to get the best benefit out of it. And I think this is something with all these data lake concepts that we're all trying to do, and in order to get those unique patterns probably across the nations, for instance.
Yeah. And I guess, I mean, to my experience, it's not only getting it to a central point, but also getting the contracts in place that you're allowed to do that. So it's not so trivial and it takes time.
That's certainly. I mean, to develop the models is probably the easy part.
Yeah.
To do the administrative part, like beside that, is the tricky one to get it in allowance with all the regulations. I mean, if you talk about banking, we have to follow regulations, right? So we have to follow certain laws that we don't need to follow in that particular case in the national sales companies, as those are not banking related, right? So all these topics are certainly more time consuming than the current development.
I think we have time for one more question. Yeah, one more question.
Good, that's good. Then
thanks, Stefan.
Thanks.